Have you ever felt overwhelmed by criticism or negativity that seems to come from every direction? Do you wonder why some people stay calm and composed even when faced with constant challenges and discouragement? What is their secret to standing tall while the storms of negativity rage on? Imagine a tree standing firm during a fierce windstorm. Its branches may sway, and its leaves may scatter, but its roots keep it grounded. This resilience, this unshakable strength, is something we can all develop within ourselves. The question is, how? Let's consider a simple example. Think about a glass of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, the water stays cloudy. But if you let it sit, the mud settles, and the water becomes clear again. Our minds are much the same. When we stop reacting impulsively to negativity, we can see things clearly and respond wisely. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore timeless truths and practical insights to help you live a more peaceful, purposeful life. In today's video, we will uncover how to stay unshaken, even in the face of relentless negativity. By the end of this journey, you'll have tools that can transform not only your responses to negativity, but also your entire outlook on life. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe. So please, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more meaningful content just for you. To navigate negativity, we first need to understand its nature. Negativity often arises from fear, insecurity, or misunderstanding, either in others or ourselves. When someone criticizes you or spreads negativity, it's usually a reflection of their own struggles. Understanding this can help us respond with empathy instead of anger. Buddhism teaches us that the way to deal with negativity begins within. The Buddha compared the mind to a lotus flower. Even if it grows in muddy water, it blooms clean and beautiful. Similarly, we can cultivate inner clarity and strength, no matter how difficult our surroundings may be. One powerful practice is mindfulness, which means being fully present in the moment without judgment. When negativity strikes, take a deep breath and observe your thoughts. Instead of getting caught up in emotions, ask yourself, what is happening right now? What am I feeling? This awareness is the first step to reclaiming your calm. Another essential practice is loving kindness, or metta. When you send kind and compassionate thoughts, even to those who hurt you, you create a mental space where negativity cannot thrive. Imagine holding a candle in a dark room. Its light spreads effortlessly, pushing away the darkness. Lastly, it's important to remember that resilience is not about avoiding negativity altogether. It's about growing stronger because of it. Just like the tree that grows deeper roots during a storm, we too can use challenges to build our inner strength. Stay tuned for the next part, where we will explore how mindfulness can become a powerful tool for cultivating inner peace amidst negativity. The calm within, cultivating inner peace through mindfulness. In this world, where the winds of negativity are always blowing, how do we find the calm within? The answer lies in mindfulness, a simple yet profound practice that brings us back to the present moment, away from the worries of the past and the anxieties of the future. Think of your mind as a river. If the water is calm, you can see the bottom clearly. But when the river is filled with rocks, leaves, and debris, the water becomes murky. Similarly, when our minds are cluttered with negative thoughts, it becomes hard to see things clearly. Mindfulness is like clearing the debris from the river, allowing the water to settle and reveal its true nature. The first step toward mindfulness is simply becoming aware of what is happening right now. It's easy to get caught up in thoughts and emotions, especially when negativity surrounds us. But the power of mindfulness is that it teaches us to notice these thoughts without judgment. Instead of becoming consumed by them, we can simply observe them, as if watching clouds float across the sky. They may come, but they do not need to take root in our hearts. One of the most powerful tools in mindfulness is focusing on the breath. Breathing is something we do automatically, yet it is often something we overlook. By paying attention to each breath, we anchor ourselves in the present moment. With each inhale, we bring in fresh energy, and with each exhale, we release tension. This simple practice can immediately bring a sense of calm and clarity to the mind. When negativity arises, whether in the form of criticism, judgment, or simply the weight of the world's problems, we can use mindfulness to create space between the stimulus and our reaction. Instead of reacting impulsively, we pause and breathe. In that pause, we find the space to choose our response, to decide how we want to engage with the world around us. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a part of life, but it does not need to define us. The Buddha himself sat beneath the Bodhi tree, facing many trials and temptations, yet he remained still, focused, and aware. In the same way, we too can face the storms of negativity with unwavering presence. Our inner peace is not a passive state. It is an active choice, cultivated through mindful awareness and practiced regularly. But how does mindfulness help us in the face of negativity? It does so by allowing us to step back and view situations from a broader perspective. When we are caught up in the moment, in the heat of the storm, we often react out of habit, out of fear, or out of a sense of self-protection. But when we practice mindfulness, we train ourselves to see things as they truly are, not as our fears or emotions distort them. Imagine, for a moment, that you are in a heated argument with someone. Your heart races, your mind spins with responses, and you feel the urge to defend yourself. This is where mindfulness comes in. Instead of reacting, you take a breath. You notice your body's tension. You notice your thoughts, but you do not identify with them. You allow the moment to pass, and in that space, you regain your calm. The more we practice this, the less we are controlled by our emotions. We become like a calm lake, undisturbed by the winds, able to reflect the world clearly. This is the power of mindfulness. It doesn't erase negativity, but it gives us the ability to rise above it. Another important aspect of mindfulness is the practice of non-attachment. In our daily lives, we often attach ourselves to certain outcomes, certain expectations, or certain beliefs. When these things are threatened, our minds become unsettled. But mindfulness teaches us to let go of these attachments, to hold on to them loosely. We begin to understand that nothing in life is permanent, and that includes both the positive and negative experiences we encounter. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference. Rather, it's about experiencing life fully without becoming overly attached to any particular outcome. When we are not attached to the need for approval, success, or even peace, we can experience life as it is, without the weight of expectations dragging us down. Through mindfulness, we also learn to cultivate compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. Often, when negativity strikes, we are harsh with ourselves. We blame ourselves for not being stronger, more resilient, or more composed. But mindfulness invites us to be kind to ourselves. Just as we would comfort a friend going through a difficult time, we must also extend that same kindness to ourselves. Compassion is like a warm light that melts away the coldness of negativity. When we approach ourselves and others with compassion, we create an environment where negativity cannot take root. Instead, it is replaced with understanding, patience, and love. In the Buddhist tradition, one of the most revered practices is metta, or loving-kindness meditation. This practice involves sending goodwill and compassion to all beings, starting with ourselves. It's a beautiful reminder that we are all interconnected. When we practice mindfulness and compassion, we strengthen our bond with others and with ourselves. At the heart of mindfulness is the recognition that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts. Just as the sky remains unaffected by the clouds passing through it, so too can we remain unaffected by the thoughts and emotions that come and go. By observing our thoughts without judgment, we free ourselves from their control. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we begin to see that the negativity around us is like the passing clouds. It is temporary. It may seem overwhelming in the moment, but it will pass. And when we return to our breath, when we return to the present moment, we find the clarity and strength to remain calm, no matter what storms arise. But mindfulness is not a practice that can be perfected in a single day. It is a lifelong journey. Like planting a seed, it requires patience, consistency, and care. Some days will be easier than others, but with each mindful breath, with each moment of awareness, we move closer to the calm center within. As we continue this journey, we will explore more ways to stay unshaken, to cultivate peace amidst chaos. But remember, the practice of mindfulness is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Start small. Begin with a few minutes each day of focused breathing and gradually expand. Over time, you'll find that your ability to stay calm, even in the face of negativity, grows stronger. In the end, the calm within is not something we find outside of ourselves. It is always there, waiting for us to remember it, to return to it. When we cultivate mindfulness, we return to our true nature, peaceful, resilient, and unshaken by the storms of life. The eye of the storm, understanding the nature of negativity. Imagine standing in the center of a fierce storm. The wind howls around you, the rain pelts down, and everything in your path seems to be swirling in chaos. But in the middle of this storm, there is a quiet space, a calm eye where the air is still and everything is peaceful. This is how we can learn to be amidst the storm of negativity. The world around us may be filled with noise, criticism, and anger, but within, we can cultivate the quiet, unshakable peace that comes from understanding the true nature of negativity. To understand negativity, we must first see it clearly. We are often swept up by it, like leaves caught in the wind. We react, we feel hurt, we get angry, but if we pause and observe, we can begin to see that negativity is not a force that controls us. It is simply a passing cloud in the sky of our mind. It has no power unless we give it power. This is a crucial realization. The storm outside is not the storm within us unless we choose to let it be. Buddhism teaches us that negativity, like all things, is impermanent. The anger, fear, or frustration we feel in moments of negativity will not last forever. Just like the storm that eventually passes, our emotional storms will pass too, if we do not hold on to them. This understanding is liberating. It allows us to let go of the need to control everything and trust that, no matter how fierce the storm, the calm will return. It's important to know that we are not the storm. We are the sky, the vast, expansive space in which the storm occurs. The more we grasp this idea, the more peaceful we become. Negative emotions no longer feel like a threat. We can observe them, recognize them, and let them pass. When negativity arises, instead of identifying with it, thinking, "I am angry," or "I am hurt," we can simply say, "Anger has come," or "Hurt is here." This shift in perspective is a powerful tool. It allows us to stand back, to observe, to not be swept away by the winds of emotion. It's as if we are watching the storm from a safe distance, knowing it will pass and we will be fine. But how do we get to this place of calm? How do we stop reacting and start observing? The answer is practice. Just like a tree grows stronger through storms, our inner peace grows through practice. Each time we choose not to react to negativity, but instead observe it with awareness, we strengthen the roots of our calm. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When we are mindful, we do not get caught up in our thoughts or emotions. Instead, we become the observer of them. For example, the next time you feel hurt or angry, take a moment to stop and breathe. Observe the feeling. Notice where it is in your body. Does your chest tighten? Does your stomach knot? Simply acknowledge these sensations without judgment. You are not trying to get rid of the feeling. You are simply letting it be, observing it with kindness and patience. It's also important to understand that negativity often comes from a place of suffering, whether it's from others or ourselves. People who lash out or criticize are often in pain. They may be dealing with their own fears, insecurities, or unresolved issues. When we realize this, it becomes easier to respond with compassion instead of anger. The Buddha taught that suffering is part of life. And when we understand this, we can begin to see the suffering behind negativity, which allows us to let go of judgment. This is where the practice of loving kindness, or metta, becomes essential. Metta is the practice of wishing well for others, even those who may be causing us pain. When someone is angry or critical, we can respond by silently wishing them peace, wishing that they find happiness and relief from their suffering. It may sound strange at first, especially when someone has hurt us, but it is a deeply transformative practice. When we wish for others to be free from suffering, we free ourselves from the grip of negativity. We are no longer bound by the storm they have created. Instead, we create a space of peace within ourselves, regardless of what is happening outside. As we continue to practice mindfulness and loving kindness, we begin to shift our relationship with negativity. We no longer see it as something to fear or resist, but as an opportunity to practice our patience, understanding, and compassion. Every time negativity arises, it is a chance for us to strengthen our inner peace. It is like lifting weights at the gym. The more we practice, the stronger we become, and eventually, we reach a point where negativity doesn't have the power to shake us as it once did. We can also remember that the storm of negativity is often fueled by our own attachment to certain outcomes or expectations. When things don't go the way we want, or when others don't treat us the way we expect, we become upset. This is a natural human response, but it's also a form of attachment. Buddhism teaches us that attachment leads to suffering. When we let go of the need for things to always go our way, we find peace in whatever happens. We begin to trust the flow of life, knowing that whatever comes, we will have the strength to face it with equanimity. One way to practice letting go of attachment is through the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. The people in our lives, the situations we face, and even our own thoughts and emotions are in a constant state of flux. When we recognize this, we can let go of the need to hold on to anything tightly. The storm of negativity is just as impermanent as everything else. It will pass, and so will the feelings that come with it. In the meantime, we can find peace by accepting that change is a natural part of life. As we move through life, we will encounter more storms, more criticism, more negativity, more challenges. But with each storm, we become more resilient. We become like the sky itself, vast, calm, and unshaken. The storm may rage, but it can no longer touch the peacefulness within us. This is the true power of understanding the nature of negativity. It's not about stopping the storms from coming. It's about knowing that, no matter how intense they are, we will always have a safe, calm space within us to return to. So, when the next storm of negativity arises, remember, you are the sky, and the storm is just passing through. You don't need to fight it or resist it. Simply let it be. Watch it come and watch it go. And as you do, you will find that the calm of the eye of the storm is always within you. The shield of compassion, transforming hurtful energy. In a world full of noise and conflict, it's easy to become hardened by the weight of negativity. Every day, we face words and actions that can sting, anger, or hurt us. People criticize us, misunderstand us, or even try to bring us down. Yet, in the teachings of Buddhism, there is a way to respond to this with peace, rather than retaliation. The shield of compassion is what protects us from the harm of others, transforming their negativity into an opportunity for growth and understanding. Imagine yourself standing in the middle of a storm. Winds blow fiercely, and rain pours down relentlessly. You could try to fight the storm, but you'd only tire yourself out. Or, you could do something different. You could create a shield around yourself, a shield made of kindness, understanding, and love. This shield doesn't block the storm completely. Instead, it allows the winds to pass through without touching your heart. This is the power of compassion. Compassion doesn't mean we ignore or accept harmful actions. It doesn't mean we allow others to walk all over us. Compassion means we choose to respond with a calm and loving heart, understanding that every person, no matter how they act, is struggling with their own pain. When we hold a compassionate mind, we stop reacting with anger or frustration. We stop feeding the cycle of negativity with our own negativity. Instead, we create space for healing, both for ourselves and for others. Compassion allows us to transform the energy around us, no matter how harsh or hostile it may seem. The Buddha taught that to live without compassion is like trying to live without water. A person who holds on to anger, jealousy, or resentment is like a thirsty person who refuses to drink. The bitterness and dryness that comes from holding on to these emotions only hurt the person who holds them. Compassion, on the other hand, is like cool, refreshing water that nourishes and heals. To understand the power of compassion, it helps to first reflect on the suffering of others. People who lash out, criticize, or act in hurtful ways are often acting out of their own pain. Maybe they are insecure, fearful, or struggling with something deep within themselves. When we can see that their actions are not personal attacks, but reflections of their inner turmoil, it becomes easier to respond with kindness. This doesn't mean we become doormats or allow ourselves to be mistreated. It means we choose not to let their negativity infect our hearts. We recognize that their actions come from their own struggles, and instead of reacting, we respond with empathy. We offer them understanding, not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Compassion is also about being kind to ourselves. Often, the harshest negativity we face comes from within. We criticize ourselves, belittle our efforts, and hold on to feelings of guilt and shame. But self-compassion teaches us to treat ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a friend. When we are compassionate with ourselves, we let go of the harsh judgments that cloud our mind and heart. The practice of loving kindness meditation, or metta, is a powerful tool in cultivating compassion. In this practice, we focus on sending kind thoughts to ourselves and to others. It starts with us. We say to ourselves, "May I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be safe." Then, we extend these wishes to others, our loved ones, strangers, and even those who have hurt us. We wish for them the same peace and happiness we wish for ourselves. As we do this, we begin to notice a shift within. The hard edges of anger and resentment start to soften. Our hearts begin to open. Compassion becomes the shield that protects us, not from external storms, but from the internal turbulence caused by negative emotions. We stop carrying the weight of anger and resentment, and instead, we carry a lightness that allows us to move through life with ease. Another powerful way to build compassion is through understanding the interconnectedness of all beings. Buddhism teaches that we are all part of a web of existence, where every action, every thought, and every feeling impacts the world around us. When we remember that we are all connected, it becomes easier to feel empathy for others. If someone is rude to us, we can remember that their actions are not isolated. They are part of the same world we live in. Their pain is a part of the greater human experience. This understanding helps us respond with a gentle heart. It is much like seeing a fellow traveler struggling on the road. You don't judge them for their struggles. Instead, you offer a helping hand. Similarly, when we see others suffering, we don't need to respond with anger or defense. We can respond with compassion, understanding that they, too, are doing the best they can, given their circumstances. Compassion also requires us to practice patience. In a world where we often expect immediate results, it can be difficult to give others the time and space they need to heal. But just as a flower needs time to bloom, so does a person's heart. When we are patient with others, we give them room to change, to grow, and to heal. We don't rush them, and we don't force them to conform to our expectations. Instead, we allow them to be where they are, and we meet them with understanding. In moments of conflict or hurt, ask yourself, what would compassion do here? Instead of reacting from a place of anger, take a step back and let compassion guide your response. Speak with kindness, even when it feels difficult. Listen with an open heart, even when the words are hard to hear. Remember that your response can either escalate the negativity or transform it into an opportunity for healing. This shield of compassion doesn't mean we are passive or weak. On the contrary, it requires great strength to respond with love and understanding, rather than with anger or defensiveness. Compassion is not about avoiding confrontation, but about choosing how we engage with it. It is a powerful way to rise above the negativity that comes our way and to remain grounded in our own peace. One of the most beautiful aspects of compassion is that it is a practice. It is not something we either have or don't have. It is something we cultivate, like a muscle that gets stronger the more we use it. With each moment of kindness, with each thought of goodwill, we strengthen the shield of compassion around us. Over time, it becomes a natural part of who we are. When we meet the world with compassion, we begin to see that negativity loses its power over us. It may still exist, but it no longer affects us in the same way. We become like the lotus, growing from the mud, untouched by the dirt around us. Our compassion transforms the energy around us, and in doing so, it transforms us. In the end, the shield of compassion is not just about protecting ourselves from the world. It's about opening our hearts to the world, even when it seems harsh. It is about choosing to respond to pain with love, to hardship with patience, and to negativity with understanding. It is through this shield that we find true peace, not in avoiding life's challenges, but in facing them with an open, compassionate heart. The more we practice compassion, the more it becomes a part of who we are. It becomes our natural response to the world around us. And in this way, we stay unshaken in the storm of negativity, not because we avoid the storm, but because we have learned how to navigate it with grace and love. The power of detachment, letting go of toxic attachments. Imagine walking through a forest, carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. With every step, the weight grows more difficult to bear, and your energy begins to fade. You wonder, why am I carrying this? It's making my journey harder, not easier. This is exactly what attachment to things, people, and even thoughts can feel like in our lives. We carry burdens that weigh us down, without realizing that we can let go and walk lighter. Attachment, in its essence, is the tendency to cling to things we believe bring us happiness or stability. It could be our relationships, possessions, opinions, or even our past experiences. However, these attachments often come with hidden costs, emotional exhaustion, frustration, and a constant sense of lack. When we attach too strongly to something, we begin to fear losing it, and this fear holds us hostage. In Buddhist teachings, this is called dukkha, the suffering that arises from attachment. The Buddha, a wise teacher of ancient times, compared life to a river. The water flows, changes, and moves continuously, but we often try to hold on to the flow, grabbing it with our hands. The more we grasp, the more we suffer. This is because everything is impermanent. Things change, people change, and life itself changes. Our attachments are like trying to hold on to the flowing water. No matter how tightly we grip, it slips away, leaving us frustrated and empty. Let's take a simple example. Think about a child with a favorite toy. The child holds onto it tightly, unwilling to let go. When the toy breaks or is lost, the child experiences a deep sadness because their happiness was tied to that toy. As adults, we often do the same with our desires, our possessions, and even our sense of self. We believe that these things define us, bring us joy, and protect us from the world's uncertainties. Yet, when life takes them away, we feel incomplete, much like that child without their favorite toy. But there is a path to freedom, a way to break the chains of attachment. The practice of detachment is not about giving up on the things we care about. It is about understanding that our true happiness does not depend on them. It is about finding peace within, regardless of what happens around us. Detachment means seeing things as they are, without adding unnecessary emotional weight to them. Detachment is like a leaf floating gently on a pond. The leaf is not trying to control the water or resist the current. It simply floats, letting the water carry it wherever it goes. When we practice detachment, we let go of our need to control and cling to things, and instead, we allow life to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean we become indifferent or uncaring. It means we allow ourselves to engage with life without being controlled by it. One way to practice detachment is to focus on the impermanence of all things. Everything in life, whether it's a moment, a feeling, or a relationship, is temporary. The Buddha taught that nothing lasts forever, and when we truly understand this, we can start to let go of our attachments. When you look at the world around you, notice how everything comes and goes. The seasons change, people come in and out of our lives, and even our own thoughts and feelings are fleeting. Knowing that nothing is permanent can help us release the need to hold on so tightly. Another way to practice detachment is through mindfulness. When we become aware of the thoughts and emotions that arise within us, we can see how many of them are tied to attachments. For example, when we feel angry, we often attach that anger to someone or something. We believe that the anger comes from the outside world, but in truth, it is our attachment to the situation or person that causes the anger to persist. By practicing mindfulness, we can observe our emotions without getting attached to them. We can simply let them pass, like clouds moving across the sky. The practice of letting go is also a crucial part of detachment. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or neglecting. It means accepting that we cannot control everything. Sometimes, we must let go of people, expectations, or even our own plans, trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to. This doesn't mean we stop caring. Rather, we stop clinging to the idea of how things should be, and we embrace the flow of life with an open heart. Think about a gardener tending to their plants. The gardener cares for the plants, waters them, and ensures they have the right conditions to grow. However, the gardener does not try to control the plants. If one plant withers, the gardener does not resist the natural process. Instead, they accept it and focus on nurturing the plants that are flourishing. Similarly, in life, we must learn to care for what we have, but accept the natural ebb and flow of things. We cannot force everything to stay the same, but we can choose how we respond to change. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is the concept of non-attachment. This doesn't mean we become cold or indifferent. It means we develop the ability to enjoy life without clinging to it. Imagine a person who enjoys a beautiful sunset. They are fully present in the moment, feeling the warmth of the sun and appreciating the colors of the sky. But when the sun sets, they don't feel sadness or loss. They simply accept the ending, knowing that another sunset will come. This is non-attachment, appreciating life fully, without holding on to it. The key to detachment is not renunciation, but freedom. When we let go of attachment, we free ourselves from the prison of expectations, fears, and desires. We are no longer tied to things or outcomes. Instead, we become open to whatever life presents. We can experience joy without fearing loss, and we can face challenges without feeling overwhelmed. This is the freedom that comes with detachment, the freedom to live fully and peacefully, no matter what life brings our way. It is also important to remember that detachment is not about rejecting love or relationships. On the contrary, detachment allows us to love more deeply. When we are not attached to a specific outcome, we can love without expectations. We can give freely, without needing anything in return. We can be present with others, without holding on to them in a possessive way. True love, in the Buddhist sense, is free from attachment. It is compassionate and unconditional, like a mother's love for her child, which is given without any expectation of reward. Letting go is not always easy, but with practice, it becomes a natural part of life. Like a tree shedding its leaves in autumn, we can release what no longer serves us. We don't need to hold on to old grudges, past mistakes, or unfulfilled desires. We can let go of the weight that burdens us and move forward with a lighter heart. The power of detachment is a gift we can give ourselves. It is a way to find peace in a world that is constantly changing. When we practice detachment, we stop chasing after things that bring temporary pleasure, and we start to focus on what truly brings lasting peace, contentment, compassion, and wisdom. These are the treasures that never fade, no matter what happens around us. So, the next time you find yourself attached to something or someone, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, am I holding on to this because it truly serves me, or because I'm afraid to let go? Practice detachment not as a rejection of the world, but as a way to engage with it more fully and freely. Let go of the things that weigh you down and discover the peace that comes with living without attachment. The mirror of self-awareness, recognizing inner triggers. When the winds of negativity blow, we often feel tossed about, unsure of how to steady ourselves. But what if the real source of our turmoil isn't always what's happening outside of us, but something deep within? The first step in staying unshaken is recognizing what triggers us, the thoughts, emotions, or situations that cause us to lose our balance. Just like a mirror reflects our image, self-awareness reflects the deeper truths about ourselves. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself reacting strongly to something that, in hindsight, seems insignificant? Maybe someone's offhand comment upset you, or a small mistake at work led to frustration. It's easy to think that the world is at fault for how we feel, but often, the root of our reactions lies in something inside of us. To stay grounded in a storm of negativity, we must first turn inward, to look at what's happening in our own minds. In Buddhism, self-awareness is not about judging ourselves or trying to be perfect. It's about seeing ourselves as we truly are, without the lens of self-criticism or ego. When you observe your emotions and thoughts with compassion, without trying to push them away or deny them, you begin to understand why you react the way you do. This understanding is the foundation of resilience. For example, let's say you're at work and a colleague makes a passing comment about your performance. You feel a wave of frustration and anger rising within you. At that moment, instead of simply reacting with irritation, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is it in me that has been triggered by these words? Perhaps you're feeling insecure about your work or fearing judgment from others. These feelings aren't caused by the colleague's words alone, but by the insecurities you carry inside. When you can see this clearly, you no longer take their words as an attack, but rather as a reflection of your own inner landscape. This awareness is the key to staying unshaken. When you begin to recognize your triggers, you gain a powerful tool to maintain inner peace. By seeing your emotions as they arise, you don't get swept away by them. Instead, you create space between the feeling and the reaction. This space is where true freedom lies. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is the concept of dependent origination, the idea that everything arises in dependence on conditions. Your feelings are not fixed or permanent. They are simply the result of various conditions, like your thoughts, past experiences, and beliefs. When you can recognize these conditions, you realize that you have the power to change them. You don't need to be a prisoner of your emotions or reactions. Self-awareness is like having a flashlight that illuminates the dark corners of your mind. When you shine the light on your inner world, you see the roots of your reactions. You might discover patterns in your thoughts, such as feeling triggered by certain situations or people. Once you see these patterns clearly, you can begin to unravel them and create a new way of responding. For instance, imagine you have a tendency to get defensive when someone criticizes you. Instead of reacting immediately, take a step back and ask yourself, why do I feel the need to defend myself? What am I afraid of? Perhaps you're afraid of being judged or rejected. Understanding this fear helps you to respond with more clarity and compassion, rather than with defensiveness. In Buddhism, there is a practice called vipassana, or insight meditation, which involves observing your thoughts and feelings without attachment. This practice helps you see things as they truly are, not as you wish them to be or as you fear them to be. When you practice vipassana, you begin to see that your thoughts and emotions are not permanent. They are fleeting, like clouds passing through the sky. This understanding helps you stay calm and centered, even in the face of negative circumstances. As you continue to cultivate self-awareness, you also begin to understand the role of your inner dialogue. Often, we are our own harshest critics. We tell ourselves stories of inadequacy or fear, which then shape how we react to the world around us. When you become aware of these inner stories, you can start to challenge them. Instead of believing everything your mind tells you, you can choose to respond with kindness and understanding toward yourself. Self-awareness also means acknowledging the truth of your feelings without judgment. If you're angry, frustrated, or sad, it's important to acknowledge these emotions instead of suppressing them. When you accept your emotions without trying to change them, they lose their power over you. You don't need to push them away. You can simply observe them, let them be, and allow them to pass. In the same way, when negativity arises in your environment, whether from other people or from circumstances, your self-awareness gives you the ability to choose how you respond. You don't have to react impulsively or be swept away by the negativity around you. Instead, you can take a breath, observe the situation, and respond with clarity and wisdom. One way to practice this in your daily life is through mindfulness. As you go about your day, take moments to check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? Are there any old triggers or patterns arising? This simple practice of self-reflection can help you stay grounded and aware of your reactions, rather than being at the mercy of them. Another important aspect of self-awareness is recognizing when you need to take a step back. Sometimes, the storm of negativity is so strong that it feels overwhelming. In these moments, it's okay to give yourself permission to pause. Take a few deep breaths, go for a walk, or simply sit in silence for a few minutes. This act of pausing allows you to reset and reconnect with your inner peace, so you can face the storm with a calm and clear mind. Over time, as you deepen your self-awareness, you will notice a shift in how you respond to the world around you. Instead of reacting automatically, you will begin to choose your responses with more wisdom and compassion. This doesn't mean you won't ever feel upset or angry. It means that when those emotions arise, you can face them with understanding and patience, rather than letting them control you. Self-awareness is the foundation for all other practices that help us stay unshaken in a storm of negativity. It's the lens through which we see ourselves and the world. When we cultivate this awareness, we are not only able to navigate negativity more skillfully, but we also create the conditions for lasting peace and happiness. In the next part, we will explore how to use mindfulness to anchor yourself in the present moment and avoid getting lost in the turbulence of negative emotions. Stay with us, for the path to resilience continues to unfold. The flow of acceptance, embracing impermanence. In the stillness of the present moment, there is a deep truth that we must embrace. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. The clouds move across the sky, the leaves fall from the tree, and the seasons shift with quiet certainty. Life, too, is a river flowing towards an unknown horizon. If we resist this flow, we suffer. But if we accept the impermanence of everything, we can find peace. Impermanence is a core teaching in Buddhism. It tells us that all things, our feelings, our circumstances, even our very selves, are in a constant state of change. This is the nature of life. The sooner we understand and accept this truth, the sooner we can find freedom from the suffering caused by our attachments to things that will inevitably change. Imagine holding a flower in your hand. At first, it's vibrant, beautiful, full of life. But as time passes, the petals wilt, the colors fade, and the fragrance is lost. If you cling to the flower, refusing to accept its change, you will only feel sorrow. But if you accept its natural process, if you allow it to wither without resistance, you can appreciate the beauty it gave you, knowing that its journey was as it should be. This is the essence of acceptance. Recognizing that everything in life, whether pleasant or painful, is temporary. By understanding impermanence, we stop fearing change. We stop holding on to things that no longer serve us. We stop resisting the flow of life,